what are your behaviors or beliefs about how you operate in a relationship?
Yeah.
And it's usually from what you've observed growing up, whether it's
Yeah.
your
I was just
parents.
gonna say, I think a lot of inner child or unhealed trauma that starts to rear its ugly head. Welcome to the Weaponized Marriage Podcast. I'm your host, Kendra Hewitt.
And my name is Ryan Hewitt.
And I'm your host, Ryan Hewitt.
Yeah, I'm a host too. Well, are you the host or am I the host?
No, we're both the host.
Okay. So what do you want to talk about today?
So today's topic is Instagram message inspired from Ryan.
Yeah. It's called the 5 stages of relationships. And we chose this one because I think it's really helpful for people to identify what stage they're in and what it takes to move to the next level, which is, I guess, assuming that people want to continue to improve and get better, but you're probably not listening to this podcast because you don't want to improve your marriage. So chances are you are wanting to maybe take something away from this podcast that's going to be helpful for you, that creates conversation and, potentially help move you forward. So so we're going to talk about the 5 stages. And I guess we to me, when I heard this the first time, I just think about other relationship. I think about ours first, but then I think about other people's relationships that I know about or that I observe, and where most people are stuck, I think. And I think that a lot of people get stuck in their life in similar areas, whether it's in their marriage or whether it's in their business or their income or in their body and fitness. And in a lot of cases, it just takes different mindset strategies and in other, and behaviors, right?
Yeah. So I think we should go through each phase and slowly, not like name all of them. Let's go through each phase and kind of like bring up what comes up
Yeah.
here.
I mean, so the first phase is the honeymoon phase. Clearly, I believe most people know what this feels like and looks like, and this is the intoxicating, like, first stage where I guess, like, where physical attraction is at its highest.
The dopamine hits the highest.
Yeah, this is when, like, you're blinded by, you're totally blind to, like, red flags. You're, like, early in the relationships, you don't know the person that well. All you know is, like, the immediacy of, like, what you connect about, like, your things you have in common. Obviously, like, if you're physically attracted to one another and you have chemistry, like, this is the feel good stage.
Yeah. And it's also the one that I feel like a lot of people in this day and age, and I'm kind of generalizing here, but I'll say it anyways, is that like this is the one that people are constantly repeating at the very beginning because they are constantly like you are so inundated with options in this day and age. I feel like with
Well, people are addicted to the feeling, the
yeah.
dopamine hit, or just the intoxicating, like, feeling of that, like, excitement, right?
Yeah.
So the exciting, like, initial phase of relationship until you get to phase 2, which is when you enter what's called power struggle. This is when you start to learn more about each other, and that's when power dynamics start to happen. So that's when you start to see things about the other person you maybe don't like so much.
Yeah. And you let them know it.
Yeah, and then you criticize them. And this is where a lot of people get stuck with a lot of relationships, because this is where they choose to, like, say, this person's not for me. And then they repeat
Yeah.
back to the honeymoon phase with someone else. And you're right. It's more, I think people associate relationships with that feeling of butterflies and of, like, ecstasy and like super intense sex. And, like, that, just the reality is that doesn't happen. That doesn't last forever.
Yeah, and the power struggle is also like a fight for control. And what they were talking about in the video, which I thought was really good, is that like most people never get past level 1 and 2. So honeymoon to the power struggle,
Mhm.
or they stay stuck in this cycle, this part of it the most.
Right, and then, like, what do you think about when I say, like, power control? Like, power struggle?
Well, when people get into the power struggle, most people they either leave the relationship and then they start over all over again in a new honeymoon phase.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying, like, power struggle, like, what does that mean?
Um,
Like,
like you
clearly it's
said, fight for control.
like,
It's fight.
clearly it's not, like, physical control,
No, no,
right?
no.
So we're talking, like, power control in what?
I think this is where like people start to get like you go from kind of like false reality, which is the honeymoon phase, to the reality, like the day to day consistency where it's like you're not getting those intense dopamine hits all the time. So you're like, hey, we need to do laundry today. Hey, we need to pick up the kids. Hey, we need to do this.
Well,
And
these people don't have kids already.
well,
They could, I
they
guess.
could for sure. It gets a little bit more mundane, and then you start to see the separation of what power struggle means to me is like kind of the separation between church and state, like how you are operating, how one person in the relationship operates versus the other, and the dynamics they have together
Yeah.
that are where the opposites usually attract. This is where the opposites start to attack. So things that like you're overlooking the things that you thought were really like intriguing and sexy about that person, and instead you're just starting to attack with the criticizing of like, "I wish you didn't do this way. I wish you
Mhm.
didn't leave the dishes in the sink. Um, you never finish things," like or
Yeah, so all of a sudden, things that are important to you start to come to the surface,
yeah.
right? Whereas before you would have overlooked things because you're like, "Holy shit, she just looks so hot, like, I'm not gonna say anything."
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
But after a while, this is like, "Okay, well,
She
s
looks so hot even though she's an hour late, it's fine
yeah,
at the beginning, but then now it's at the point where she's an hour late every time, and now I like to be on time, and I'm pissed.
yeah." So those
So
things,
I
right?
say something.
So it's like your rules, right? So if your rules don't match up here or your values don't match up
Mhm.
here,
You
um,
start to see the separation of church and state.
right. So that's great. So yeah, that's exactly what I think about with power struggle. And then all of a sudden things start to show up as far as like what are your behaviors or beliefs about how you operate in a relationship,
Mhm. Yeah.
like and it's usually from what you've observed growing up, whether it's your
Yeah.
your
I was just
parents.
gonna say, I think a lot of inner child or unhealed trauma that starts to rear its ugly head
Yeah, so if you're an
here.
insecure person deep
Yeah.
down, then it's like, "Well, she didn't text me, in
Mhm.
the last 2 hours," like
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden, this person who you used to think like, "Wow, he just like, this person like loves me so much," it turns into like, "Holy shit, they're annoying." They're just like, they don't give me space.
Mhm.
Anyway, so that's where this power struggle starts to hit, and phase 3, of course, is acceptance. So if you make it to phase 3, uh, this is where you decide you're going to accept each other's flaws.
And
Um,
you're going to do some work on yourself and the relationship as a whole.
right, but the thing is most people get stuck here. A lot of
Mhm.
people, just choose to stay together and they're like, "Okay, well, I accept you for who you are, but we're just gonna stay the same."
No, most people don't get stuck here. Most people quit here.
Well, they quit here or they get stuck here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, they get stuck in the power struggle, I think. That's pretty common, but they
Okay,
quit here, and there's a difference.
right. They quit here and then go back to dating
And they decide instead of
or get divorced.
leading that they're gonna leave.
Okay, that's good.
And or like this is a place where like the pattern of running comes up a lot, right? It's like the power struggle is so strong. So either one person runs or one person has an affair or one person and then you get to this point of acceptance where it's like, okay, I'm part of the problem, but I'm also part of the solution. And that's where the acceptance starts to shift.
Right. And you're saying most people quit here because this is where it gets really hard.
Yeah, because it's going to require you to
Accept the fact that you
accept
cannot control the other person, like last week's podcast,
or make them happy.
their happiness, for
Yeah,
example. Like you're not in charge of their happiness, you're not in charge of their emotional maturity, you're not in charge of their money beliefs, you're not in charge of their beliefs about how they operate in their health, those
yeah,
types of things. Now, you can choose to accept and lead,
yeah,
right? Where you just said, I like that. You said you choose to lead instead of leave. Or most people, I would say, they choose to leave instead of lead because they either don't see a version of this person that they could be happy with, and they don't think that they're going to continue to rise and step up, or they're just like, well, this is my pattern. I'm just going to go back to square
Yeah,
one and
I was
find
gonna say,
somebody
I
else.
think that's more common than not, is that they just go back to and they'll repeat the pattern just with a different person.
Yeah. Well, because this is where the hard work starts,
Mhm.
right? And stage four is actual commitment.
Yep.
So commitment, I guess, in the constructs of how we've um, created, marriage is essentially like, I think, the ultimate commitment, right? That's when you're saying, I want to spend the rest of my life
Mhm.
with you. And I think that that's one version of commitment, but I think commitment can mean different things, right? So marriage is, of course, like a symbolic commitment.
Mhm.
What are some other ways that you like see this stage as far as like expressing your commitment to somebody?
Well, I think that this is, not to get ahead of it a little bit, but, like, this is where you start to say, like, "I'm committed to doing the work,"
Mhm.
right? And I also need you to do the work that you need to do. It's not a one-sided equation of like, "Hey, I'm super committed. I'm staying in this relationship and I'm gonna do the work while you just sit on your ass."
Yeah, your commitment can't outweigh the other person's,
Yes, your commitment is a
the mutual commitment.
combined, it's like a mutual commitment. That's what I want.
Yeah, and I think you've decided you're mutually committed to creating a life together.
I think also too, this is a really good point to talk about like what non-negotiables mean. And much as I hate describing it as non-negotiables, I think that this for us was a critical time point when we both committed, whether we knew we were doing it or not, was when we started to reframe our non-negotiables of like, hey, for us to continue, here's what I will tolerate and here's what I will never tolerate again
Right.
based on my experience and when I tolerates maybe a little bit too harsh of a word, more of like, here's what I expect and here's the standard. Maybe standard
I
is
like
the word I
standard
word.
better.
Yeah. Standard that I'm gonna set from here on out.
Mhm.
And it can be something as simple as like, hey, when we go on vacation, I want us to I don't want you to bring your laptop. Or I'm cool if you bring your laptop, but you only use it by till 10 a.m. and then you take like being super clear in your communication of what your commitment to is and what you are non-negotiables are.
Yeah, but I mean, use an even better example. What about
I
like
just thought of
your
that one just
commitment
came
to
into
your
my head.
health, right? Because so here's some
Oh yeah, that's
men have asked me this before, and they're like, "Yeah, well, my wife has gained 40 pounds,
hmm
since her last baby, or since we got married, whatever it was. Like I love her, but I don't love the way she operates in her health right now. Like, what do I do?"
hmm
Right. So as far as like, which is like it's harsh to think about, like, why having a standard in your marriage when it comes to, let's say, your fitness and your health. Like,
hmm
you and I, we don't talk about that because, like, we know each other's standards for
hmm
like, I know you don't ever worry that I'm going to, like, let myself go,
hmm
right? Um, which I I mean, I think that's one of the worst beliefs out there is like, "Oh, I'm done chasing this person and, trying to look good for them, so I'm just gonna let myself go."
I don't
You know
think
what I'm saying?
people make that
Oh, yeah, there's people
decision.
that say that. Oh, yeah. Are you kidding me? You don't think people get married and they say, "Oh, I'm done, like, trying to put time and energy into my health and fitness. So I'm married, my wife doesn't care what I look like." You don't think people think that way?
Oh, yeah, if
Are
you
you
say
kidding
it
me?
that way, yeah. I thought you meant, like, people that say, like, "Hey, I don't really care about my spouse anymore, so I'm just gonna let
No,
myself
no, no,
go." Like,
no, no.
I was like, "I don't know anybody that would say that."
No, it's more like, I don't care about trying to impress my spouse anymore, so I'm gonna let myself go, right? Which to me, like, one of our non-negotiables is, like, we always want to, like, not just look attractive to one another, but also, like,
Prioritize our health.
prioritize our health, which is, like, go figure, healthy people just are better looking. I don't know if
Mhm.
you knew that, but, um,
And generally happier
yeah.
or better to be around.
Well, and then here's like non-negotiables in money, right? So, like, discussing
Mhm.
with your spouse, like, hey, what, like, I listened to some people on podcasts that are like, hey, like, I asked my wife, or my wife, it was when we started dating, I straight up asked the person, was like, well, like, how much what are your beliefs about money? Or like, where do you see yourself in 10 years
Mhm.
in how much money you have in your bank account? Like asking crazy questions like that. But it's to that person, like that was something that was a non-negotiable. It's like, hey, we're going to be financially independent, financially free. Like, what do you think about that?
Yeah.
Right. So, like having non-negotiables in your health, in your money, and then like parenting styles, I think that's big. Like, what are your non-negotiables in your parenting?
Yeah.
What are your
Okay.
non-negotiables in how you operate in your family life?
Yeah.
Like,
And
like,
having this conversation, like, not just assuming that they're
Mhm.
committed to the same thing, like, just being like,
Yeah, I mean, the commitment is way bigger than I thought it was when we got married.
mhm.
You know what I mean? Like,
And it took us a long time to get to that point where we could
we
talk
didn't know
about those things.
anything.
We had a couple overlaps that we knew, I think health being one of them, that we were like, "Okay, this
Well, I
person's."
think we knew each other's values intuitively just through like
But
dating and conversation and everything.
values stay the same, commitment can change.
Okay.
So level of commitment, right? Like you might be committed to something for a short period of time and then but like we're talking about like in a relationship, what are you have you revisited the conversation of you being committed? What are you committed to right now?
Hmm.
And
That could be a powerful conversation.
that could be a really
Like,
good conversation.
what are you really committed to in your health right now? Right? What are you really committed to when it comes to um our savings or
Yeah.
our
Well,
financial
I was just
future?
thinking, I don't know what popped in my head is I don't know what podcast I was listening to, but I was just listening to one recently where it was a guy, very successful entrepreneur. And he was talking about how when he met his wife, she knew she wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, but he had before they got pregnant, she had brought her h her into his business, and how it would, like, it did not work out. And in terms of he stayed married to his wife, but they ended up I think they said they got separated. And one of the things that he realized is that in building his business it was Kevin O'Leary talking about it on the Diary of a CEO. Yeah, so Kevin O'Leary in this interview was talking about how on the flip side of studying and meeting with all these top divorce attorneys he interviewed was about how the number one cause of divorce is actually financials. But he was saying that the most ironic part is that the most expensive thing that can ever happen to you in a marriage is actually going through divorce because he said you pay the significant other, you pay the attorney's fees, and then you pay taxes
Yeah,
like on if you have assets
the
to
attorneys are
divide.
the ones that make it
Yeah,
up.
but he's like, if you have assets divide, it's even more
Yeah, I
intense,
understand.
right? So one of the things that he talked about was about how him and his wife actually had separated, and then he he ended up getting back with his wife because they were committed to. He was like, people are gonna roast me for this, but I was like, at first I kind of like, ooh, I went, ooh, yeah, that is kind of rough. He was like, if you can get along 50% of the things.
No, he said if you were at least 50% happy.
Happy, yes, okay. And he's like, but he's like, if you can get committed to at least a few things in common, that enough to make it work, where separation or getting divorced is not your end alternative. He's like, "That's what I advise people to do."
Do you think people
For
that are only 50% happy should stay together?
that was the one that I was like, I wouldn't wanna stay with someone that I was 50% happy with, like, that would be settling.
Well, how long were you 50% happy with me?
Um, Man, I never thought about it that way, so I don't know. Um,
Well, you chose to stay instead of leave when you were definitely not even 50% happy maybe 10 years ago.
yeah. Yeah, that's true. But like I said, but to my point that I'm going with right now, we were committed to enough of the same things that I thought it had a chance of surviving. And then now we've got past the next phase, which is phase 5, in my opinion, where you never get past a phase, like in terms of like I guess you could always revert back to that phase of a different phase. But here's the thing, phase 5 is oneness. So this is like where you stop chasing feelings, and you start choosing each other. And it's a conscious decision on each individual's part to choose each other.
Yeah, there at this point, it's there's no more negotiables. There's no more, like, divided thoughts. There's no more, like, attention grabs. There's no more second thoughts. There's no more doubts. There's no more concerns. There's no more criticism. It's all just, you know, I guess you figured you've won the game essentially. Like the whole like what we're chasing, you and I together, at least like the way I think about it is we're chasing um that feeling of being connected, right? Rather than it's not infatuation, it's not attraction, it's not
Mhm.
it's like it's a feeling of oneness, just one heart, it's one beating heart, and it's something where you literally have you work together to build a life that matters to both of you, through raising a family, through whatever it is, building a business, through having
Having a shared vision,
just
which
having a
we've talked
vision.
about
Yeah,
before.
having a vision, of what you want your current reality to look like and your future reality. And there's only one focus on, and that's moving forward in the future and enjoying the present moment. And there's no more like silly fights. There's no
You
more.
still go
Yeah,
at
I mean, it's
times
still it's
back
not
to
like
that stuff, but
it's not like
you're
bliss all the time. Yeah.
just like your recovery, like we talked about this on another episode too, which I thought like just really has stuck out to me too, is like you're looking for a shorter duration of disconnection and what was the other thing? And faster recovery,
Yeah,
right?
it's just it
Like
happens less frequently, and when it happens, your recovery is quickly, and when it does happen, the fallout is not as heavy as it
and it
once
doesn't
was.
become something it's not. Like you don't go from an argument of like, "Hey, I really didn't like how you did this," to um I'm leaving because I don't like you at all.
Yeah, well,
Like which
well, there's no more discussion of like that's what I'm saying. There's no more like, I don't think we should be together anymore. I think we should separate. I think we should get a divorce. I think that we'd be better off without each other.
yeah.
I'm
Mhm.
actively I'm actively
Active
looking at
no
other people.
yeah, no, there's no threat, right?
There's no there yeah, there and literally there's nothing on one another's radar. You know what this is? This is just living in truth. This is just living in
Mhm.
like, I have nothing to hide, you have nothing to hide, and we have this shared life together. Like, my money's your money, like, my love is only for you, and we are only doing this life together, and we're not, you know, there's non-negotiable at this point.
Yeah, I mean, in a different way, it's non-negotiable than what we talked about with in commitment because like I said, you're choosing each other and you are actively doing that on a very consistent basis. Where you get up and you're like, "I don't have to be with this person. I get to be with this person."
I'll share this from our experience as far as, like, how it happened for us, and I don't think that we're normal by any, you know,
We're definitely not normal.
by any stretch of the imagination. However, I feel like in your 20s, you're just like, you don't even know what you don't know. You're just like,
Yeah,
ignorance is
true.
bliss, and like,
God,
your
yeah.
recovery is quick from partying, and you're like, I want to make money and be successful, but I'm in my 20s, so no one's expecting like me to be rich and famous. But when you're in your 30s, all of a sudden, like, shit gets real. And you all of a sudden realize you're like, man, I don't really know myself that well. Like, I never used to care about knowing myself that well, but now I really need to know myself and what am I going to do in this life? Like, am I going to do something that matters? Is it going to be something like, am I okay with just being this way? And I feel like there's just so
Mhm.
much chaos in your 30s of trying to figure yourself out. And if you're married, you're trying to figure out how to be married. And if you start a business, starting how to like figure out how to be a business owner is just like absolute chaos. And then if you make it through that as a married couple into your 40s, then I feel like at that point, most people in their 40s really know who they are at that point. Like, you've been through enough.
Mm.
Like, our therapist put it this way: he's like, you've been humbled at some point, I'm sure. Um, you know,
He's called it humbled or humiliated.
Yeah, humbled, humiliated, but just at a point where your ego has been smashed at least a few times or once really significantly to be able to give you perspective and
Mhm.
understanding that, hey, you're not, the cat's pajamas that you thought you were. And if you know each other, if you know yourself well enough and you're still together and you want to choose each other, I feel like that's when you can powerfully create this, you know, this 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 marriage of oneness, because when you don't know yourself and you you're battling and struggling with your own demons, like, you can't give the all of yourself to whatever it is, your spouse, your children, your business.
I don't think you fully come to know yourself as much as you are. This comes back to a commitment again. You're committed to being in love with your spouse, choosing that spouse, but also you're honoring this version of you,
Mhm,
right? Because it's like you're gonna go through versions. You're gonna go I thought about this when you were just saying that. Um, One of our friends posted, she's a big fitness influencer. And she posted probably one of the best posts I've seen her post, and it got a
okay,
lot of traction.
okay.
And one of the what she posted was the how women, it's so easy to pair yourself to get into the trap of comparing yourself to like the last version of you. I used to be able to do this before kids. This felt this way. This looked this way before kids, and you're comparing the before and the after, and you're starting to chase a version of yourself that actually no longer exists. Because like her point was, is that your body is not going to be the same that it was before kids because it's different. It's changed, and you get to decide if that's a positive or a negative.
Mhm,
And you also have to get into acceptance of that, right? And then you're chasing the next best version of you. So if you're 30, you're chasing the next best version of yourself into your 40s. And then it's at your 40s, you're chasing a next best version of yourself. And I think that same thing could apply to your marriage, not just your health, is like you're chasing the next best version of your marriage.
mhm,
The good news is that you get to have some conscious choice of what that looks like.
mhm,
And that's what oneness is where like you consistently choose each other and you consistently love each other through each version of your life.
yeah, and I feel like your understanding of what marriage is changes too. Like, I didn't know
Oh yeah, definitely.
what marriage meant when we decided to get married, truly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I
Like,
mean, if I'm being really honest, I did not even like how we kind of actually got married. Like it was very quick for me. I was not the person that was like dreamed about what their wedding would look like and like what my life would look like when I was married. Like I was just never, that was not on my radar.
yeah, but that's what people think about when they talk about marriage. It's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, what's the wedding gonna look like? Like, what's the house gonna look like? Like, are you guys happy living together?" Like,
Yeah.
it's it's so much more like
Oh my God. Yeah.
the way that Stephen puts it is like marriage is, what did he say? It's the incarnation of what God planned for, like, men and women. Like, I've talked about how, like, marriage is not necessarily a naturally occurring thing. Like,
Yeah.
we've
It's an
created it's
institution
an institution, but
created.
we've created this, but knowing, like, what it takes in order to grow a marriage, like, it's so rewarding, just like building anything that takes a
Hmm.
lot of effort, energy, time, like, the satisfaction of it and the experience of it is just, it's so much more rewarding than sort of the short term honeymoon phase, power struggle phase, which is, I think, intuitively, I think a lot of people know that that's what they really want. They want this feeling of oneness, but the work that it takes to get there, like, we had no idea. And I think that knowing that now, you just have such I have way more reverence of what it means to be married and what a marriage looks
Mhm.
like in a healthy state, especially for us. Um, yeah, I just think, like, your perspective shifts. And once your perspective shifts about what marriage is to you, what kind of frame do you guys put on what
Mhm.
marriage means to you as a married couple? Um, and for us, like, this was something that I think opened up for Kendra in plant medicine, and it opened up for me
Mhm.
once I was able to, like, humiliate myself, essentially,
Mhm.
like, have my ego smashed and just really come to terms with, like, I need to be, you know, extremely grateful for what I have in my life and what we're building and what's happening for me. Like, it's just that feeling of connection and feeling of oneness, right? It's like being intimately connected, and it's like an unspoken event that happens that people that have this know what it feels like, and I think, like, love is a way to describe it, but it's just like, biochemically, it's like oxytocin and dopamine and
Mhm.
serotonin, and it's like connected feelings and, like, and I've always wanted that with you, and I feel like we've only really been able to do that recently, just really be like one heart, like a really connected team, right? Whether that's like sexually and emotionally, or even in our like our meetings and our business and what we want to create and our vision and all that kind of stuff. Like that's the kind of stuff that's exciting about this oneness is like you have this teammate, you have this like partner, you have this like ride or die, and it's no longer like, oh, I have like arm candy or a trophy wife or this like wife that cooks and cleans for me while I go and hunt buffalo. Like it's not that. It's not like,
That's common.
yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. Like it's not like to a lot of people, like that's what they watched on television, right? They watched
Mhm.
like
Or they saw from their parents.
Homer Simpson, like the dopey dad, and like Marge cooks and cleans for the kids, and like, or like Al Bundy, or
Yeah.
whatever like sitcom thing that we grew up seeing. And I feel like a lot of people don't know what's possible if they just, get really truthful with one another and are able to just create something that's like, I think just it's incredible. It's something that I think is meant to be experienced, by saying, yes, I want to marry you. Right? But I think very few people know, like, hey, this is like it's like starting a business. It's like, hey, you can get to this. I'm just going to invent something, right? 8-figure business, for example. But like, we're not really going to tell you how to do it. You have to figure it out along the way, but it's possible, right? Go. And I mean, for us, there was no playbook, there was no toolbox, there was no like, I don't know. I just know that I think you and I have always been chasing that because both you and I, we want to have a great life.
Mhm.
And I think like having a great marriage is like something that both you and I know that's the foundation, like God and having a great marriage is the foundation of our life.
I think I'm gonna go off of like just to bring this to a close because I think that one of the things that is coming up as you're talking for me is talking about chasing that next version of yourself in the context of oneness is what's that next version of your marriage, right? So you might be in acceptance, you might be in commitment, you might be in oneness. You might be in the power struggle. Like there's a lot of people that are listening that might be in the power struggle.
You're in the power struggle if you in your head think that you've settled.
Yeah, and so like what is a way that you could level up your commitment to your significant other to show that you're choosing them? And one of the things that is coming up as you're talking right now, which also came up in our therapy session, was we just shared our celebration this weekend. We closed on our lake house and we moved in this weekend. And it was like, it was amazing. It was an amazing weekend. We had like so many moments. It was hard to pick one that stood out when we were sharing it with each other. And I thought about how, I love alliteration. And I was like, this version of me is chasing peace and presence. And that means with that clarity,
And ponies.
oh yeah, that'd be good. Um, but the peace and presence in me, this is like very new for me to sit with this type of feeling because for me, it was not like, what does that mean? What does it mean I'm chasing peace? But what it has done recently for me is shown me is that I get to define that, right? So like for me, like even I looked at my day today. In the past, I would choose productivity over presence. Like, that is how I valued
Yeah, that well,
how my
that's
day was.
but that what you're describing is you being in your heart rather than in your head.
Yes,
And
which
that's
is
the
something I'm very working on.
yeah, and that's what I'm saying is like that is the best version of you
Yeah,
that I connect with the most and that I find most attractive.
right, but it's also the version of me that I wanna chase,
Mhm.
right? Like, it's so I think that
But
part of
that's
it
where
is
that magic happens is like you're trying to improve yourself to become the version of who you are that's most attractive to me and to yourself, but and vice versa.
but the other thing is that, like, for years, you have said to me, "I want you to be more present and connected with me,"
Mhm.
but I could never connect what that meant.
Right.
I there's no way for me to define that, and you could not define that for me. I had to intrinsically and kinesthetically feel like I did this weekend where I was like, "This is what it feels like to be, like, in your heart and present and purposeful and peaceful." And I think that the reason I'm bringing this part up is that, like, it's again that, as cliche as it sounds, is like you can't want something for your partner that they don't want for themselves.
Mhm.
And I think that the oneness is not chasing the feelings of like, I wish I could be that for my man. I wish I could be this even for myself. But getting stuck in that, but I don't know how, which is I'm very guilty of at times, right? Like I go right from from heart to head, and then I figure it out up here when I'm trying to reverse that processing, right? I'm trying to go from, okay, it comes in here and then it goes right to here. And how does it feel for me? What do I have to do to stay there? Um, and I think that the, at the end of the day, in the oneness category, is that you really are just asking, how do you choose each other? You show up and be present for each other. And
You just and everyone everyone I think that most people know if they're giving their best.
yeah,
It's giving your best. Like, are you like at when you lay your head down at night, it's like, did I give my best version of who I could be today for whatever, for your wife, for your kid, for your
yeah.
business,
And
for whatever
like,
it is.
I think also too, like closing it here too, is like sometimes when you don't give that best version, like you're not always going to give your best,
Oh God, no.
but when you do, acknowledge it. When your spouse does give their best, make sure you're acknowledging it. And when they don't, the spouse that knows that they did not give their best version, they have to apologize for it or bring awareness to it. Just say like, "Hey, that's not how I wanted to handle that situation." And or that's not what I meant to say. What I meant to say was this. And just the the apologizing from the person that didn't give their best and the acknowledgement for the person that did, I think is like a huge stride forward in creating connection.
Okay. It's good. You leave it with a tactical tidbit at the end.
Okay, what's our tactical
No, you
tidbit?
just did a tactical tidbit about this oneness, which was very philosophical, and then you're doing like a little tactical at the end.
Well,
So
that's just
I
where I
know.
go.
I'm just saying. So
Just saying.
all right. Well, wrap it up with a tactical
Okay.
tactical
Um,
Kendra.
so no, you wrap it up. I always wrap it up.
Well, I think everyone shuts the podcast down at this time when they know we're about to say like, share, save, subscribe,
No.
spam. But anyway, we appreciate everyone who listens and supports and shares with their friends and with anybody who they feel could really benefit from this conversation. Not that we know everything or anything, but there's definitely experiences that we love to share with other people because we love conversations like this. So if you love conversations like this as well, please let us know if there's anything else you would love for us to rap about. And as always, like, share, subscribe, save,
Rate,
rate,
review, and
review. And we'll see you guys next week.